Thank you, Mr. President. Let me first acknowledge my gratitude to you, Mr. Chairman, as well as to Mayor Jackson, to this council, to all of my colleagues who came to the funeral home, who sent flowers, a wonderful basket from City Council, who in many ways expressed their condolence from the passage of my father, who many of you knew. I want to thank Councilman Plenzik and Councilman Conwell speaking at his funeral. And as of today, Councilman Conwell is acknowledging my dad's community service by doing a secondary naming, should this council agree, to the street in which he has served so long. So I want to thank you for that, as well as a congratulations 2 weeks later for my wedding. I want to take the time and thanks for everybody. It's the first time I've really been back in the saddle for quite a while, a few weeks. But Mr. Chairman, if you will, I also like to deal with an issue that tonight is the first opportunity for me to do. It is the first opportunity since the ruling of the grand jury relative to the officers involved with Tamir Rice, the finding by the grand jury that there was not probable cause to file charges of any nature, any criminal nature, against these officers. It was clear that Prosecutor McGinty made it clear that he felt that there was not probable cause, and he went about to convince the grand jury of that. He has every right as an elected official to do that. I have every right to respond. I want to use this opportunity for this floor to express what I believe is my constituents' response, as well as many of my years' experience. I don't want to spend my time just complaining about what Mr. McGinty did, but rather to ask of us, for us to step in. I really believe that that day in 2014, when those two officers drove up to Tamir Rice and shot and killed him, that there was, at the minimum, a negligent act. I have requested of the law department for us to look at City Law 62101, the negligent homicide law. You know, there's only two laws that deal with homicide, vehicular homicide and negligent homicide, and vehicular does not apply here. But I believe that somewhere along the way we have lost the fact that we have a duty. The officers have a duty to the citizens of our city. It appears that if one can allow these individuals to make the decision they did on how they reacted to this allegation that there was someone with a gun waving it around. It was an allegation. It was a call into 911. There is a duty for us to make sure our officers understand how to decipher, how to assess. I believe there was a duty that was breached. There was the fact that there was a decision on how they approached. There was a decision on why they shot. All of that leads to, for me, a breach of that duty, which is negligence. I'm not ready to say that the officers were not criminally liable. I believe at the minimum they were negligent. They made the decision, after receiving one call, that they were going to approach this person and create the risk that ultimately forced them in their minds or in their statements to be able then to shoot and kill Tamir Rice. There is a duty that police officers have to Tamir Rice, who is a citizen of Cleveland. We have to understand that if we hire people, put a gun on their hip, that there is something that they have a responsibility for. It's not just whether they felt that they were at risk. There is a duty for that extraordinary power to use deadly force against a citizen. That's why we created 621. There is not just a citizen to citizen. There are other folks who have that duty. We have to review this, notwithstanding what Mr. McGinty said. There was, Mr. McGinty said, a call of an active shooter. If we allow active shooter to become defined as someone with a gun, that opens up so much doors that we can't afford to have an active shooter. Tamir was not an active shooter. He was not running around shooting people. But Tim McGinty used that as an example to be able to exonerate these officers active duty, active shooter. The courts are mixed on this. Some will believe that if the officer has a split-second decision and makes it in fears for his life, legitimately fears for life, everything else is out the door. No other analysis. Then there's a totality of circumstances review. And that is, you have to look before the shooting. What was the decision? What was said? What was done? That is relevant to Tamir Rice. That is relevant to any of our citizens. An officer cannot put himself or herself at risk through negligence, through just a bad decision, and then take the benefit of using deadly force. We need to review this. I gave the request to Law Director Lang Henry. I have stayed away and let her do her review or her decision on whether to review. But I believe that there's negligence here. Tamir Rice was not committing any crime. Somehow we think because he was reaching on his waistband, that was enough to believe that there's no criminal negligence here. The gun was sold to a friend from Walmart. The state of Ohio is a carry permit state. But yet they still approached him in a way that created risk for themselves and took away a right of a citizen to live even though he didn't commit a crime. He should not have been killed. So it's up to us. Tim McGinty has made his decision. He said everything is reasonable. He said that there is all of these acts were just a unfortunate stream of errors. The officers had a duty to Tamir, and we have a duty to review these officers that we hired, that we said to the citizens of Cleveland that they are ready, that we're going to give them the gun and we're going to give them the training, and anything they do, if they believe they fear for their life, is okay. That's not what the law means. So I do hope you understand why I requested this, because it's unacceptable for us to believe that Tim McGinty has the last word. Tamir was a Clevelander. It happened in Cleveland. We owe it to the family and to my citizens to review this act as an act of negligence and then to determine whether there's probable cause. Judge Adrian has stated that there was, as he reviewed it. We cannot let it go. We cannot let what I consider to be a flawed process and decision by Tim McGinty be the last word. We created this law, dereliction of duty law, negligence homicide law, for a reason, for this law director, this mayor, and this council to do it themselves. Give it a fair hearing, give it a fair review, and do justice, since the county prosecutor and the grand jury could not alone. Thank you, Mr. President.